Welcome to Shipp's Tips, episode 26. How time flies, isn't it? Now, today behind me has to be one of the most famous lakes in match fishing. So we are at Cudmore Fishery. It's a long time since I've been here. I've had some fantastic matches on here fishing. When the Fishermania used to be on here, then they used to do the team thing on the Sunday. I had some great matches on here and went home with the Fishermania team sort of trophies and stuff. So we've brought the cameras here today to fish with the method feeder, but very different. One of the biggest changes in match fishing now on method feeder fishing is fishing with 4mm around the method feeder. Now, Sonubaits do a 4mm pellet perfect to actually put that around the feeder. And that's what we're going to be doing today. It's going to be a nice and simple film. But I think for a lot of people, you know, they want these bigger fish. The fish are very crafty now. So we're trying to feed the fish that they're picking up, but most importantly, what you've got on the hook as well. I'm going to keep it nice and simple. I've got some bandems, but I've also got some 4 and 6mm hard pellets. So they're going to match in to the 4mm that we're going to be putting around the method. I can't wait. I said it's been a long time since I've been back. Let's get back to the gear and then let's soak the 4mm up and get everything ready. Right, let's get the pellets done for the method feeder that we're using today. Now, these pellets are the sticky method pellets. Now, they're the same principle as the 2mm, and we all know how massive the 2mm sticky pellets are. So these are the 4mm versions. They go through the same process and they're very similar to actually soak up, but you're going to need to leave them like 20 minutes to get them dead right. Again, like all the 2mm pellets we do, the sticky 4mm come in several different flavorings and smells. I'm using the Periscope X today, but you've got the krill in squid, you've got banoffee. There's a flavour for everyone. It just depends on how you feel and what you're confident with. So let's get these dead right for putting around the feeder. So I've got some lake water there. I'm going to put a good helping of them in one of those Vetalite mesh tubs, and I'm going to soak these now. And some people even use these on the pole because they sink really well, because they go through a process exactly the same as the 2mm. Now I'm going to leave them in there for roughly about 2 minutes. Now that's my hook baits today. I thought I'd bring them down to show you. They're the hard pellets that Sonu do. So I've got a few red ones in there. 4s and 6s, they're superbly cut. And I'm going to go through, you know, see what happens today, see how the fishing is. It's a bit cold today, I'm not going to lie. When we got here this morning, it was 14 degrees. 2 days ago, it was like 26. It's amazing that it's starting to drop off. That's why I'm actually sat here in a hoodie. So we'll see how we go. I'm sure, like I said in the intro, this sort of style of fishing now for a lot of people when they're fishing for bigger carp is making a big difference. So as you can see, they've sunk like an absolute stone. They've got a lovely coating on them. I'm going to leave them there for just a little bit longer. I'm going to put them on the grass, let sort of most of the water soak away, and then leave them for 20 minutes. I'll get on, set my box up, get me stuff ready, and we'll be away. So I reckon they've been about 2 minutes or so. Put them on the grass like that. Now, the whole principle is I don't want to leave them in there too long, because I don't want the pellet to go soft all the way through really quickly. Otherwise, you lose that binding effect. And it's the same with the 2mm. If you've seen videos that we've done before, you know, if you soak them for between 2 and 3 minutes in the summer, right, you get the effect of the bind, you know, the bind that wants to stick around the feeder. If you lose that, all you've got to do is literally flick a bit of water over them, spin them around in the tub, and it brings it all back. If you leave them too long, you lose that sort of ability to bring them back. So a little bit of water like that. Don't leave them in there too long. They don't take long because they're a fantastic pellet and a really important pellet. They actually soak the water in. So I'm going to leave them there now, get back, set a bit of kit up, and we're going to get fishing. Well, I wasn't expecting that first chuck. We've had a couple of liners and it absolutely tanked down, and obviously with the water being down quite a bit, that exploded out of the water. I didn't need to watch me rod. But it's a really good fish. What a brilliant start. I wish I'd have caught one of these in the team finals back in the day. Could have sat in my van for an hour. Obviously not got a clue really how big they are, but I think the average is like 3 to sort of 8 pound. This is one of the bigger ones. So really speaking, all you're feeding is those bigger pellets. Oh yeah, that's a great big common. I must admit, it absolutely tanked off to the right hand side. I was just about to take my clip off, but then it come down to the middle. You can tell straight away these fish are proper healthy in here. There's loads of pleasure anglers on it today. Just shows you how probably good the fishing is. So I've got, rig wise, just go through I'm fishing a 10 foot Superior X. Oh, 8 pound sinking feeder mono. And I've got a medium XR feeder. Now I'm fishing with an XR feeder because they do hold them full meals in really, really well. And I've got an 017 bottom and a size 14 KKMB barbless, just with a band on, and that was on a 6mm hard pellet. Look at that for a start. A beautiful fish that. Not using keep nets today because the water, even though I'm sat in a hoodie, the water is still really, really warm. So it's only the right thing to do is to actually put the fish back once they've caught them. God. Your arm's going to be hurting today if it carries on like this. Go on, baby. Yes. No. One of them commons, it just goes round just with his tail stuck up. Oh, that is pulling, I'll tell you. What a beautiful start. You can see why this is getting more and more popular, because it does pick out those bigger fish. It's a bit like fishing with a tea bag, if you like. Because obviously with a bag, that's why a lot of anglers, fish a bomb with a bag, because they put the bigger pellets in. But you can do the same. God's sake. That is fighting. The water quality looks amazing. It's really fresh, which is probably why that thing's fighting. Get in there. That is a beautiful fish. That's double figures. Look at that for the first bite of the day. Thank you very much, Arena Lake at Cudmore. Absolutely mint condition. Let's pick him up. Let's see if I can pick him up. Don't think he'd be too bad because the sun's not out. Look at that for a start. On the old 4mm sticky pellets around the feeder. I think we're in for a great day. Right. Now, I've left them pellets for around 15 minutes, so I couldn't wait to get going. They probably need just a little bit longer. So I'm going to put a 6mm pellet on again. Now you can use a mould or you can use your hand. Same principle. Look at them, they're sticking there. There's not many 4mm that you can actually do that with. Looks very different to what you're probably used to putting 2mm on, but the same principle. So I've got some 4mm. There's another one ready. That might be the same one. I'll just let go, and then get yourself a nice little handful of those sticky 4s. crush them on. They probably need about another 10 minutes. But it doesn't matter, it's about getting them down there on the bottom, like that. And obviously there's my hook bait. Looks identical to everything else, which I think this is why it can work amazingly well. So let's chuck over. I'm not chucking right over. Probably about 2 meters off the far side. Get that line down, just take your time. Little tweak, little stopwatch. And over the next sort of 15 minutes, they'll become like absolutely perfect. They're not quite right. I just couldn't wait to get going, but it's not many difference. I've still caught one on it, but they do need another 10 minutes. And I don't think, it's quite interesting. I've only just, over the last couple of years, I've done a little bit of this. You don't seem to get, well, you get less of this on the tip. You might get an odd little indication and then you get your bite. And I think that tells you that it's a different, you know, they're picking up those bigger pellets. There's not loads of micros and ground bait there. We all know on the day you can't beat micros and ground bait. But when you're fishing for these bigger fish and they're crafty and they come in, they take all the 2 mils, they take all the ground bait and most of it, they can leave your hook bait. This gives them less options. So you're fishing a bigger pellets around the feeder and a nice pellet on the hook. You're gonna have to go carefully about losing your rod, because that bite was like literally like that, and then the actual fish exploded out of the water. It's brilliant. So you just imagine venues you go to with them bigger stamp carp, take some of them with you, whether you're pleasure fishing or match fishing, and I think you'll see a difference between the two. And like I said, them pellets are already done for you. It's as simple as basically just soaking them like I've showed you. And I've got nothing else on my side tray. This is all about fishing with these bigger pellets today. There's nothing, there's no signs of nothing. There's not even any tails. It might be, if I went a little bit closer to the island, perhaps I might see a bit of that. We only just started, that was the first cast. So once we've been casting in and out a little bit, the action might get like better and better. Absolutely not a sign, and the tip's just absolutely belted round. And I think that's what you'll find when you go out and try this method. You will find that that's what happens to you. Certainly not as big as the last one, but a decent one. And that's before the pellets are absolutely perfect as well. I did say to Jake, he's like, oh, you need to leave them a little bit longer. And I'm like, I can't wait, I've got to get out there. So second cast, second fish. Keep that rod nice and low. This is the time to check your clutch. Got my clutch all nice and set. I've still got I took the back wind off straight away because I think they're going to be a bit very, very fiery today. Oh, it's not a bad fish. Definitely might put in the old 18-inch net up today. I think a 16-inch would have been a bit too small for these fish at Cudmore. That was a terrible bit of netting, by the way. Oh, now he's very upset. Another beautiful fish, that. Let's bring him round here. 5 pound. Brilliant start. Ooh. Right, let's go through that again. So I'm picking out a nice 6mm. They're a lovely batch of pellets, some hard pellets. I love it when they're all clean cut. So 30mm medium. You can always go to a large. I do like a medium to start off with. Get some of those 4mm in there. Like that. You can squeeze them in quite hard, to be honest, because they'll come out. And then a few over the top. Looks very different to what you do in 2mm. Give them a nice squeeze. Let's get that little bait back in and get me mould in a minute. Perfect. Lovely. I've got to get that line down because there's a bit of a side wind. Keep stopwatch set. I think that bite was about 4 minutes. So I'd probably be leaving it at the moment, probably 5 minutes maximum, 5-6 minutes before I wind back in and then see how the fishing goes. Might even put a big XR on actually. So if I put a big, got the big version, big one might be better today. I just thought I'd start on a small one just to see what was going to happen. But if they're going to have a go, especially with them using those 4mm, a large version might be even better. Oh my God, this is going to be awesome, isn't it? Well, proof of the pudding there. 3 chucks, 3 fish. And all these pleasure anglers will be looking around thinking, what is he doing? Well, when the film comes out, they'll be knowing. The only thing I haven't got on my side tray at the moment is just a little tub of water, just to keep them pellets from drying out too much. Slightly smaller one. They're fantastic condition, eh? 3.5 pound. Absolutely mint. Nice easy fishing as well. Woo. Woo. My God, he's not happy. And you'll see from, let me just get him back. Still a couple of those 4mm left in the pot, and that's no different to what I've said about the 2mm. Just shows how good they are. That bite would have come within 2 minutes. Oh, got to get a bait on first. Never be afraid to put a 4mm on either if things get tough, or even go up to an 8mm. I think now them 4mm have soaked in a bit. They're like a 5mm anyway. Chuck that in the same sort of area and hang on for dear life. Set that again. I'm using the stopwatch just to give me a guide of basically not leaving it out there too long. I'm going to get a little bit of water. Even though it's not sunny today, them pellets will dry out a little bit. Just to keep them perfect. A little bit of water over the top. And I'll be doing this while I'm fishing, waiting for my next bite. Just a little splash. Just to keep them dead right for the next cast. Well, there's a couple of little tips that you're going to have to try with like any method feeder fishing, even though we're just fishing with 4mm around the feeder today. Obviously leaving your bait out of the feeder sometimes can work really well, and I'll try that because we've had such a good start at the moment and there's no signs. It's literally boom, 100-mile-an-hour bite. It's brilliant. And then different ways of loading the feeder. At the moment I'm sort of loading the feeder level with the top of the feeder, if you like, and then putting my hook bait on the top, so you've got that sort of volcano sort of effect, and then obviously that melts off and there's some left in the feeder. Sometimes I'm going to try, if things don't sort of keep going, I'll try different ways of loading the feeder. So what I'll do is I'll literally put my hook bait in the middle of the feeder, especially with an XR feeder, because they're only sort of that deep. It doesn't really matter if the fish are coming to your feeder. Sometimes putting that bait right in, it protects it as it hits the water, and obviously that can work really well. My favourite way is what I've been doing, is where I'll compact it in first, have some over the top, and that seems to work really, really well. Don't matter where I go fishing, deep water, shallow water, you know, when I'm fishing for carp or bream. But sometimes just letting that hook length sit out the back of the feeder by just a couple of inches can be really, really good as well. And then you can compact everything on the feeder really hard, so you know most of that bait is going down. Your hook bait's obviously away from the feeder a little bit. So all them little things you can try. And obviously casting about, you know, I mean, sometimes if the fish aren't really playing ball, don't be afraid to cast it about. I'm casting in sort of the same area at the moment, but if things go a bit funny, chuck it like 3 or 4 meters to the right or the left. At the moment, I'm fishing a couple of meters off the island. I will unclip a little bit if things don't work, and obviously go nearer the island, and vice versa. If you started right against the island and you had all the tails up and it looks amazing, but sometimes you've got to struggle to catch fish like that. Sometimes come off the island a little bit and start fishing in deeper water. That can be really good as well. So all them things are sort of, you know, when I'm fishing, are going through my head. And I'm looking at my stopwatch. Use a stopwatch, is massive. You just don't leave it out there too long. I've left it out there. Most of the bites that I've had up to now have come within 4 minutes. So in my mind, I'm leaving it there roughly five minutes. I'll wind back in and then recast. And if I cast out 3 or 4 times in the same area with nothing, that might say to me, right, you know, let's go to one of the things that I just spoke about. Let's go right or left and have a chuck. Let's go a bit closer to the island. And that's the sort of things you use using a stopwatch. I think it's really, really important. And also, never forget bright hook baits. We all know good, and Cudmore Lake or Rena Lake is very, very dirty colour. Oh, hello. Oh, I don't know if Jake had that on the camera. I reckon that literally dislodged itself. That was a big fish as well. That was gutted. I reckon that's literally shook like that, and it's not quite hooked itself. So I've got my mould out now. So what I mean is I'm gonna, now these pellets now are perfect. They've been there like 45 minutes now. Look at that. That's the difference using a mould. So easy. So put a few more in, hook bait in the middle. Bring that round. Crush them in. Look at that. Absolutely bang on. With the 4 mils. And give that another cast. That was a big fish, that. Very shallow there, right? Because the water's down quite a way because we've had such a dry period. That was literally on the 5-minute mark, that. I think that was one of them great big commons again. And what you've got to remember, we've been going like 45 minutes. There's not much bait out there. And never be afraid. I've got my baiting up feeders with me. I can always put one on, give it 2 big baiting up feeders. Some of the hardest days, sometimes when the fishing's more difficult, sometimes you've got to put more bait in to actually get a response. So I've got my ICS baiting up feeders with me, so if I wanted to, I could just take that feeder off, put an ICS baiting up feeder on, put 2 big feederfuls of 4 mils in, and obviously start fishing again. Obviously at the moment, felt probably I don't need to do that. But it's a good option. It's like fishing down the edge. Sometimes, unless you put a volume of bait in, they won't come in. And sometimes that's no different to a method feeder fishing. So all them little things are going through my mind when I'm fishing. At the moment, what's going through my mind at the moment is is concentrating on my rod so I don't lose it. But I was convinced that fish either picked my feeder up or it literally just pricked itself on the hook and didn't quite hook it. And then when I looked out there was a massive bow wave. And I'm not sure whether we will, with it being quite very shallow over there, we might not catch really quickly. It might be a day when the feeder goes in, the fish go away, then they come back. Some days you can chuck a feeder out, they'll all be over it. And like I said, we've only been going a little while, but as the day goes on, the more bait that goes in, you'll get more activity, more competition, and you might be chucking it out and they'll all be over your feeder. That's not happening at the moment. So we're getting up to like 3, sort of nearly 4 minutes now. This is when I think when my bites have been coming. So, and you can never sort of, and I don't really want to know really why it takes that long. I remember going to some of the craziest venues in the country, catching on a method feeder and a pellet feeder. And even though you were catching huge weights of carp, it took a certain amount of time to catch one. It didn't matter whether I would load it differently, whether I used ground bait or pellets. It just, some venues, the fish react slightly different. I know every day's different as well. And I think like now, Got 4.5 minutes. But what's been happening up to now anyway, that wind is really cold. You can't believe how cold that wind is. It's a northerly. And I think that's going to affect the fish today. It's a bit overcast. So let's give it another cast. Put a bandom on. Put a little. So that's on that dark red one. Let's get that favourite little pink colour on. Load him up nice. Oh, they're so easy to work with, them 4mm. Look at that. Just load him right up. Perfect, look at that. Loaded. Right then. Just use your rod to sink the line. Once it's down, a little tweak of the reel. You literally, if you get it right, it's literally, you just move that reel handle literally like 2 or 3 inches and you're set. You don't need a big bend in the tip. It's just enough to register the feeder on the bottom. Just check your pellets are right, which they are. It's really exciting fishing though, because you know you're fishing in shallow enough water, so when you hook one, they explode out of the lake. But I will eventually, I think, take a little bit off and just go a bit closer to the island, even though the water level's quite a way down. Oh, little tiny jab. Yeah, just had a couple of little indications this cast. It's always worth, amazingly, go down to a 4mm pellet. You can always put one of those 4mm on that are actually in the bag. So we've got a nice 4mm there, which I could possibly try. If I get indications, that's what I'm thinking. Might be small fish that though, you never know. It could be skimmers. Dare not take my eyes off the tip. It's so aggressive. It's like you want to look round. If you see something move to the right, you like look round and you're waiting for your You're waiting for the corner of your eye, seeing your rod virtually bent in half. Definitely had a few indications this time, though. There we go. Oh, yes. Oh dear, back mine straight off. I don't know why I struck like that hard. That rod literally took off. So that was a nice little change. 4 minutes, see? Weird. So you're learning, every time you're learning with that little stopwatch. That was on a little pink bandam. Not sure how big that is. Oh, feels like a good fish, that. You definitely wouldn't get up and go to the toilet with your rod out on this venue. Oh yeah, nice big mirror that. God, they're real jaggedy. Definitely a different fight to the commons that we've had. A beautiful fish, that. So you can probably see from my finger as well, when I'm playing a carp, I have my finger sort of on the line just above the bell arm. I've always played fish like that. And if you want to let the reel run like that, you can literally just put your finger round and let the bell alarm come up against. But when I'm actually playing it, I do play it like that. I've never actually spoke about that before. Just feels like you sort of get a bit of feeling what's happening. So that changed to that. You can tell, you can't see that fish very far down, so it's really dirty water. So having a pink, got to have that option. You never know, I might even get the mini bandams out later on. I don't think so, not for these fish. Although I have been to some venues and a little mini bandam can pick out the bigger fish if they're really crafty. But I think putting them 4 mils around the feeder does make a difference. That's a beautiful fish, that. I'll try and bring him around here and net him. My God, they're powerful. Yes. Oh, yep. Probably £9, I reckon that. Eight or £9. He fights so hard, the upbait comes off every time. Look how clean that is. What a beautiful fish to catch. On the 4 mil sticky pellets around the feeder. And a 6 mil pink bandam. Although I'm not going to pick him up, Jake. I'm afraid he's not happy about the situation. Let's get him back. Let's get back out and catch another one. So I'm going to go through the same pink band them. I'm not going to do anything to this one, just change the hook baits at the moment. I'm going to stick with that medium. But never be afraid. If things got really quiet and I couldn't catch, that's one of the first things I would do, is actually put a bigger feeder on. Look at them. Just take a couple off. Just get that hook bait bang in the middle. Got to work a little bit harder putting your hook bait in the middle, because obviously you've got your 4 mils like that. If it was 2 mils, you could put them anywhere. With 4 mils, just work it around a little bit. Load them up. Let's get back out. Brilliant though when they explode out of the water, literally. The humongous bow wave went off when I looked at that. Really, really enjoyable catching an odd big one. I'm going to try and catch one more if I can. Them pellets have lasted perfectly. Like I said at the start of when I was doing the bait prep, don't soak them for too long. They might take a little bit longer to actually come right. So, like I said, 20 minutes, 40 minutes to get them dead right. But if you soak them for too long, I think you lose that effect of the stickiness as your session goes on. So if you're going pleasure fishing, especially, soak them for 2 or 3 minutes, but make sure you give yourself enough time to let the water soak through. So like I said, half an hour, 40 minutes preferably. And then I've had to get a bit of water like that, put it on the pellets, just turn them over. Obviously, if it was sunny and real hot, I'd probably have to do it a little bit more often, but you just need to keep them so there's a little bit of dampness to them. But a bag of pellets would probably last me the whole day if I wanted to. But you can see why they're so deadly for those bigger fish. I've not caught a single. I've had 1 or 2 2-pounders, which you're always going to get that. But I think it sort of you get the bigger fish. You know, they're probably the ones that are really switched on to small baits that come in. It's exactly the same as what I said earlier, down the edge fishing with the pole. You know, they come in, they're sucking up all the little bits, and they're quite happy. And then you come up to your up bait, you've got a nice big up bait over the top, and they just swim away from it. Where if you can get them on those bigger baits and fish a nice bait on the hook, you can actually catch. If it's anything like the previous time that we've been waiting, we're into our sort of the zone where we're going to get a bite. The only problem with this cast, the casts I've had a couple of little taps and it's gone round. This cast I've not actually had any indications. And that don't mean to say it's not going to go round. It just gives you, like, you think, right, another, you know, I don't want to leave it there much more than 5 minutes. Because I think we've lost our sort of, you know, where we should be getting a bite. Nope, I think we're gonna, I could leave it there longer, but I just fancy sort of 5.5 minutes has been the maximum for me today. I'll leave that pink bandam on. Loading the feed has been standard thing for me. Putting that nice compact feeder like that at the start, and then putting a few over the top of your hook bait. I don't really mess about with different hook lengths. 4 inches is standard for me, especially when I'm fishing for big fish as well. I think it keeps the feeder nicely away from the fish when you're playing them. And chuck it over. Badoosh. My God, it's cold. Oh, hello. Oh, yes. That's incredible. Literally. Well, just got the line down. Absolutely exploded out of the water over there. Oh, that feels like a good one. Again, another good fish, which is what today's been about. The only difference with that is I've just put a 4mm pellet on. So I've had a few on a bandam, a few on a 6mm. It went all a bit funny, couple of that, and I thought, I'll tell you what, I'll put a 4mm on. And I've caught one straight away on it. So going back to what I said earlier about thinking about, you know, chopping and changing, how crafty these fish are some days. And you can start off, you know, bigger pellets. But if they're in a sort of dodgy mood, like they have been sort of midday, and to be honest, that's what you're replicating, aren't you? You're replicating what you're feeding. But we've had a mega day here at Cudmore. It's been nice to come back. Like I said, I've had some, that's a good fish. I've had some good times here. Get it in there. But I'm gonna stay on. But them 4mm sticky pellets today have been mega. God, they are so crazy here, it's ridiculous. Absolutely mad. I will try and hold him up. If I can. If he'll let me, that is. And I think now, if I stayed on for a bit, I could keep changing my hook baits. But look at the size of the fish today. They've all been, most of them have been this size and a bit bigger. Let me try and get that net out of there from him because they don't wreck himself. Well, I'm not going to pick him up because he's proper wiry. So let's just recap on what we've done. There's those sticky pellets. There you go. Absolute beautiful Cudmore carp. Let's get him back. I said the water's warm. I don't want to keep him out too long. And I've just, like I said, I've just gone down. I've actually put a 16 hook on. And I've got, and you look at this when I put this on. This is how crafty they can be. So I'm picking a bigger sort of 4mm out. Let's just show you what I've caught that one on. And I'm sure you could carry on catching. Now that's the 4mm hard pellet, and that replicates that perfectly. Some days and some time of the day you might have to just drop down like I have, and it makes a huge difference. Obviously as the day goes on, they might start feeding really heavily again like they did this morning, and you won't have to. Then you can put your bigger pellets on, you can put your bandems on. Sometimes they're really weird and they only pick up basically what you're feeding. But there you go. I bet you picked up some great tips. Them sticky fours are fantastic. You know, I mean, they've been there virtually all day, look, and they're still sticking together as you want them. And like I said, if they do dry out, a little bit of water on there, swish them around, and they're back. The mould's been brilliant. I started using my hand this morning. Wasn't quite as good as the mould, to be perfectly honest, and that's what they're all about, is making fishing easy. So there you go. I hope you've enjoyed the day. Get out on the bank, get onto those sticky 4mm pellets, and I'm sure you'll catch plenty of the big carp that we've been catching today. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you on the next video of Shipp's Tips, and don't forget to like and subscribe on the Sonubaits YouTube channel. Thanks again.